Alright, this video has 15 million views and somehow we haven't watched it. NFL season literally started last night. Lamar lost again, just like I knew they would. That's why I hopped off the bandwagon to join the Bengals. But anyways, yeah, 15 million views. I don't know how any of these teams got their name, honestly. So I figured this would be an absolute banger to watch. I know y'all like the longer form videos when I do those, you know, like the draft or the top 100 highlights. So everybody sit back, grab your blunt, grab your popcorn, grab your Gatorade, whatever you got, and let's watch how every team got their name. Also, before we hop into it, there's only like 2-3 days left before my Caleb Williams special disappears. You see, I got the Caleb Williams jersey on. If you could go play my Caleb Williams special on Underdog, I would really appreciate it. Here are my official picks for week 1. All of my official plays for week 1, including my Caleb Williams. Go lock them in. Lock in what you want. Don't lock in what you don't want. There's no other place to lock in your picks other than Underdog. So if you could go do that for me, I would really appreciate it. Now, without any further ado, man, let's hop into it.
The NFL is currently made up of 32 different franchises. But did you know over 75 have existed in league history?
I didn't know that.
Turning back the gridiron clock. It's the official evolution of the NFL, 100 years in the making. The NFL was born in 1920, known originally as the American Professional Football Association.
At Yale, right?
With 14 teams, 12 of them clumped together in the Midwest.
I heard that, not that I want to pause this a lot, because I don't, because this is 30 minutes long, but I just seen them talking about this on Hard Knocks. They said that on Hard Knocks that Yale, that football was created at Yale. And I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure they were right. Anyways.
2 others playing in New York.
Done pausing it.
And in order to join this group, you had to put up $100 for a franchise.
You'll notice
100 bones, that's all you needed?
Have official team logos. That's because teams were so informal back then, they just didn't even create them.
Jim Thorpe was unanimously elected president because of the name recognition that he could garner for this National Pro Football League.
Of the 14 original teams,
you look like a football player.
2 would stick around to celebrate the league's 100th anniversary. The Decatur Staleys, known today as the Chicago Bears,
wow,
and the oldest team in the NFL, the Chicago Cardinals, who have since built their nest in Arizona.
The story behind the Cardinals name really goes back to Chris O'Brien.
There's going to be a lot of stuff in here I didn't know.
The uniforms that the Cardinals were going to wear, he purchased them from the Chicago Maroons, and they were faded, and somebody referred to the jerseys as maroon color. He said, those aren't maroon, that's cardinal red, and that cardinal name stuck.
While those 2 franchises are the oldest in the game,
they had shitty jerseys.
The league's first ever title.
I'm dead.
That distinction belongs to the Akron Pros, who finished that inaugural season undefeated at 8-0-3. Yes, 3 ties. The Pros weren't just the league's first champions either. They were also the first team in the league to break the color barrier.
The Akron Pros are one of those teams that are lost to history, but Fritz Pollard was both a player and a coach for that Akron Pros team.
And since diamond-filled Super Bowl rings were
them
clearly
niggas was not being racist in 1920. Shout out to them. Look at y'all. Progressive in the 20s.
Those were also the first and last recipients of the league's championship trophy, known as the Brunswick Balky Colander Cup, which to this day represents one of the greatest mysteries in NFL lore. It was lost after that first season, and this is the only known picture of it. Following the league's first year, 2 teams renamed themselves and one moved.
How the fuck did they lose the trophy?
Setting up shop in Chicago, winning their
Where is it at? Somebody gotta have that bitch.
Chicago Tigers, meanwhile, folded. But
that's crazy.
Teams joined.
Niggas lost the first trophy ever.
Teams all still located in Midwestern and Eastern states.
It's crazy.
Several of the new additions didn't last long. The Tunnel Wonder Cardax holding the ultimate.
Oh yeah, that wasn't gonna last.
One league game, thereby making it the shortest-lived franchise in NFL history. The Dexy's Midnight Run.
Them niggas pull that after a game. I know some homies like that. Nah, I'm off that. I got in my yachty bag right there. That was messy. My fault, y'all. That was crazy. At least I ain't called nobody by their name.
One of those first teams that stadium was constructed with football as its main sport being played in it.
No other team in the league has played in the same city under the same name for as long as Green Bay has.
Wow.
Following the 21 season, 7 teams left the league and 4 new ones joined. The Milwaukee Badgers, the Oorang Indians, the Racine Legion, and the Toledo Maroons.
They was just saying Indian like it was
Made
just
a good call.
normal as hell back
The
then.
Bears. Their owner George Hallis picked Bears.
Even
because they
still
were
now you can say Indian and it's not super crazy.
Hallis not only
Isn't that crazy how you can't say the F word, but you can still say Indian? How did they pass?
So the name made sense on multiple levels. But
The Native Americans need the LGBTQ PR team. That LGBTQ PR team, they got shit done, boy. I can't even say nothing no more. That Native American PR team, that shit not as fire.
The 1923 season got underway.
They got the NFL team changed finally, but niggas still saying that shit.
Duluth Kellys and St. Louis All-Stars
I'm dead.
all checked in. In 1924, 5 teams left.
Why were all the Cleveland teams named Indians? They must have had a lot of Native Americans in Cleveland.
And Kansas City.
Fuck was they on?
all
What fuck was they doing in
granted
Cleveland?
league. A year later, though, Kenosha, Racine, and Minneapolis all left. The Blues changed their name to the Cowboys. Canton rejoined, and Detroit, Providence, Pottsville, and New York were all added to the mix. The Giants, the lone team to stick, making them the 4th oldest team in the league.
Wow.
Tim Nera set up his storefront in the Polo Grounds, located on Upper Manhattan's Coogan's Bluff.
So how much? Okay, I gotta look it up. How much was $500 worth in 1925? I have to know.
Their Major
I have
League
to
Baseball
know.
counterpart, trying to gain some of that fandom from Major League Baseball.
That means ultimately the name Giants was inspired by all the skyscrapers in New York.
500 in 1920 is equivalent
First ever champs
to 8,000 today. What? Oh, niggas missed out. Niggas missed out. And that's why, and I'm gonna pause it one last time and then I'm not gonna pause it again. And that's why you see all of those NBA players and athletes buying pickleball teams. Because right now, well, not right now, because pickleball's already gaining steam, but what I was gonna say is right now it doesn't seem like that crazy of an investment. Just like 7,000 back then still wasn't even that much money. But if pickleball takes off, just like the NFL took off.
4 others were
I can't
also
believe
added.
only 7.
The
No
Brooklyn
way.
Lions,
That can't be right.
Blues, the Louisville
Only $8,000?
Buccaneers, marking the first time the league had a team out west, although they never actually played any games in LA.
Ultimately, the LA Buccaneers played as a traveling team and really took up shop in.
So you could have. So you're telling me that you could have
and then traveled
worked
as a
the job
team, really.
for 2 or 3 months
Things up the following season.
and had enough money to buy your own NFL team.
Bulldogs were back, and the New
Oh,
York
yeah,
Yankees
niggas
were
tweet.
added.
Niggas
12
tweet.
teams now listed in the NBA. And yes, I said the New York Yankees.
Niggas tweet.
The NFL was down to 10.
That was a tweak.
Duluth and
Y'all
Buffalo
coulda came up.
spots in the league, while the Cleveland Bulldogs moved to Detroit and became the
Whoever that Giants dude was, that dude had
The
division.
3 teams to
Homeboy had division.
Season. Buffalo came back, and the Orange Tornadoes, Staten Island Stapletons, and Minneapolis Red Jackets.
This should make me want to go invest in some new small niche
NFL began its
sports.
second decade in existence.
Just hoping in 100 years.
A little bit. 3 franchises.
That
were
shit worth the bill.
2 joined. The Portsmouth Spartans, who are known today as the Detroit Lions and are the 5th oldest team in the NFL.
Wow.
In 1931, the Cleveland Indians were back. However, the Red Jackets and Tornadoes dropped out. 1932 was another significant blip on the NFL timeline. The Indians, Steamrollers, and Yellow Jackets departed, and the Boston Braves were added, which you know today is the Washington Redskins. But by adding only 1 team and losing 3, the league was down to 8 teams. It was the smallest the league ever got.
Had the league really trying to protect itself and stay with fewer teams but have them more successful
Then in 1933, the Cincinnati Reds were introduced to pro football, along with two Pennsylvania franchises that would establish permanent roots in the league. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who eventually changed their name to the Steelers, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's funny when you read the stories leading up to the first game that the team played. Claude Ray was very optimistic. We're a first-year team, but we're going to surprise people. Well, they went out and they played their first game against the New York Giants and lost 56-0.
Philadelphia owners Burt Bell and Lud Ray settled on the name Eagles in honor of the symbol used by the National Recovery Act that was part of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal that followed in the wake of the Great Depression. The 33 season was also when the owner of the Boston Braves decided it was time for a new name.
George Preston Marshall wanted to stick with the Native American theme, so he didn't want to keep the Braves name because that was the name of the baseball franchise, so he chose the Redskins.
That season was also the first in which divisions were created, which set up the first official...
And they let that nigga do that shit.
The team that had the best record.
I don't know how he got that off.
The Bears would represent the West, the Giants the East, with Chicago beating New York 23-21 for the title.
That game really was the beginning of the popularity of pro football.
Big glasses ass boy.
Marking the first time in the league's history there were no changes. But mid-season, the Cincinnati Reds folded and were replaced by the St. Louis Gunners for the last 3 games. It would be the only 3 games they would play as an NFL franchise. Also in 1934, the Portsmouth Spartans moved to Detroit and changed their name to the Lions. The name was inspired by baseball's Detroit Tigers, though the team had a different explanation. Quote, "The lion is considered the monarch of the jungle, and we hope to be the monarch of the league."
It never was. Still ain't.
36, 19 remained, but it was in 36 that the NFL held its first ever draft.
Before 1936, every player coming out of college was a free agent. And a lot of times, those players were going to the teams with the biggest checkbook.
The Eagles used the first ever pick on Chicago Maroons halfback and first ever winner of the Heisman Trophy, Jay Burrow.
So if it wasn't for these guys,
would never play it down in the
nobody in the NFL would be getting money right now.
The Eagles were not able to.
And these niggas ain't making no money, boy. They was broke. They was just doing it for the vibe.
Job in sales.
Just doing it for the vibe.
1937, the Boston Redskins made the move to Washington, and the NFL grew back to 10 teams, awarding a franchise to the Cleveland Rams. These are the same Rams that call Los Angeles home today.
Wow.
The name Rams came about because their GM at the time, Damon Buzz Wetzel's favorite college football team, had always been the Fordham Rams, so they simply copied it. As the 30s came to a close, the league was starting to stabilize. There were no changes to the NFL landscape in either 1938 or 39. But 1939 was monumental for the future of the league, even if its participants didn't realize it at the time.
The Brooklyn Dodgers hosted the Philadelphia Eagles before a crowd of 13,000 fans. Few, if any, in attendance even noticed the cameras of NBC station W2XBS. Their presence marked the first ever telecast of a professional football game.
The first ever TV broadcast was only seen in parts of New York, but the seed was planted. The game's financial future, stability, and popularity were all secured with the marriage between the NFL and television.
Smart.
The 1940 season was significant for 2 reasons. First, Pittsburgh traded in the Pirates nickname.
They changed their name to the Steelers.
Why does that make it
because
significant?
a steel worker ultimately proposed the name Steelers, and that stuck, knowing that the steel industry was so big in that area.
That year also saw the first iteration of the now famous NFL Shield.
Oh, wow.
The league unveiling the iconic logo for the very...
That bitch hard. I kind of like the OG. I don't know. It's something about vintage shit that just...
A black bear running with
does something to me.
Now,
like a MILF. Ooh.
Logos several times.
Tell me your history.
The league clubs continued to remain steady until 1943. That's the season the Cleveland Rams suspended operations for a year.
Tell me your history. Nah, don't tell me your history.
It was due in part because so many of their players were drafted into military service in World War II, which is also what led the Eagles and Steelers to merge, taking on the unofficial nickname, the Steagles. Yeah!
The Steelers struggled for
the Steagles!
a decade and merging.
Not the
Philadelphia
Steagles.
They had their first ever winning season.
In 1950, Pittsburgh was still on shaky ground, so they looked for a new team to merge with, and they found a willing partner in the Chicago Cardinals. The combined teams known as Card Pit.
Oh no.
The league also
we
has the
just
Boston
get worse.
Yanks.
We just get
Cleveland
worse and worse
Rams
with it
returned,
up.
And the Brooklyn Dodgers changed their name to the Brooklyn Tigers. In 45, the Cardinals and Steelers merger was over. Both teams went back on their own. But the Brooklyn Tigers and Boston Yanks joined forces to form a new team known simply as the Yanks. Like the previous two mergers.
The Boss Yanks.
In 1946, the Tigers folded, so the Boston Yanks were back on their own. That same season saw the Rams pack up and head
so the Boston
Los Angeles
and the Yanks were on the same team in football.
Games were played in LA.
Do the baseball fans know that?
Cleveland Rams won a championship in 1945, and then their owner, Dan Reeves, moved them out to LA. This may be the only time that I can a professional team won a championship and then moved location.
We out! Nigga! Soon as I go platinum in Chicago, we gone. What are you talking about? That little nigga had a dream. Okay? First nigga on the West Coast. I like it.
San Francisco 49ers.
I'm out of here.
Though not the same Baltimore Colts franchise that would emerge a few years later, and the Cleveland Browns.
The Browns open their season against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia, and with some 71,000 in attendance, most of them National League fans of former years, the Browns had shocked the professional football world with a rude 35-10 jolting to the Eagles.
The Browns formed in 1945, and they're the only team named after a person. The inspiration coming from Cleveland's first head coach and GM, Paul Brown.
Some people claim
that
it's more about Joe Louis being named the Brown Bomber, but I really do think in this area,
Absolutely
Paul
not.
Brown is football, and his name really is backing behind
That's clout.
The Cleveland Browns being named the Browns.
That's
the
clout.
49ers name, on the other hand, is more straightforward.
56,000 witnessed an encore between the Rams of Los Angeles and the San Francisco 49ers.
They were named after the settlers who ventured into the San Francisco area during the gold rush of 1849.
Joe the Jet Perry, and he's off on a sensational 58-yard gallop up the far sidelines.
The first incarnation of the Colts didn't last long, folding after the 1950 season. They were followed out the door the next season by the New York Yanks, who were replaced by the Dallas Texans. The Texans' stay in the NFL was brief. The team lasted just one season of play.
The Dallas Texans, they're the last franchise to fold in the National
I wonder why all these teams are pulling out.
For the Texans the following year,
Somebody drop it in the
second
comments.
generation of the Baltimore
That's one thing they're not saying in this video.
would have staying power.
Why are all these teams dropping out?
Since moved to Indianapolis.
Because they just didn't believe in the
Baltimore
vision?
fans were given the opportunity
They didn't have the
to
money?
vote on a team name.
The
And they
team
stuck
got
with Colts.
smashed? What
Not
is
only
it?
as an homage to the team that had just folded a few seasons earlier, but as a way to honor the region's history of horse breeding. From 1953 to 1959, all was quiet. No new teams added, none dropped. 1960, however, was a pivotal year. The Chicago Cardinals moved to St. Louis, and we saw the birth of America's team.
Eddie LeBaron uncorks the Cowboys' money play. Frank Clark gathers in the long rollout pass, and in the race to the goal line.
Wow, still had the same jerseys, basically.
Cowboys originally were going to be nicknamed the Steers, but their GM, Texas E. Schramm, decided having a castrated bovine as a mascot might lead to some unwanted ridicule.
Yeah.
So they shifted gears and were leaning towards Rangers
Castrated
instead.
bovine.
But
Well, I don't
because
even
there
know
was
what that
already a
is.
local minor league baseball Schramm settled on Cowboys, and the rest is history. Even bigger than the Cowboys joining the fold was the emergence of the American Football League.
You know, as you look back at the year of 1960, you probably remember a great many sports events. However, I doubt that anything was more important than the establishment of the American Football League.
The AFL was originally made up of 8 teams. The Houston Oilers, who eventually became the Tennessee Titans.
Removing or
the New York
destroying the
Titans, who are now the
testicles
Jets,
of a male
the Buffalo
calf.
Bills,
Yeah, definitely don't want to have that as the
now the New England
logo.
Patriots, the
Who
Los
the
Angeles
fuck?
Chargers, the Dallas Texans, who would later become the Kansas City Chiefs, the Oakland Raiders, and the Denver Broncos.
They all wanted NFL franchises.
Hard.
Most of these owners had, enough money in their own right to start a franchise, But the league was very strategic about how they were going to expand, and so they weren't quite ready to expand yet.
The Broncos got their name from a fan who offered it up in a Name the Team contest. He noted the animal's toughness and said the Denver area was well known for its wild Broncos. Name the Team contests were a very popular way teams came up with their nicknames. They were so popular, in fact, it's how the LA Chargers came up with theirs.
Wow.
This time, passing to North.
What do you get if you come up with the team name? Big air ass a Pop-Tart?
Baron Hilton reportedly liked
a pink Starburst?
He didn't open another letter after coming across what turned out to be the winning submission. Baron told reporters he always
had that nigga some blue M&Ms.
Cry the fans would bellow out at games.
Hell no. Came up with a God Squad name.
All-America Football Conference years before they went by the...
Y'all gotta at least give me free tickets forever. If I came up with the name for the franchise, I need free tickets forever.
And picked Bills out of...
What the hell? At least. Nigga, I named this motherfucker. What? Really, I should be getting paid. Residuals, but I mean, you can at least give a nigga
74 fans voted for Patriots in their naming contest, connecting them to the men who originally fought to establish the United States as a country. Pat Patriot, the cartoon of a Minuteman preparing to snap a football, was drawn by a Boston Globe employee and was chosen as the logo soon after.
Hard.
And it's away to Jimmy Coldwell in the end zone for a touchdown.
Hard.
An Oakland woman originally
now we picking up steam.
Entry to name Oakland's franchise, coming up with Señors. The name alluded to the old Spanish settlers of Northern California. But when it got out, there was so much criticism, even claims the contest was fixed. They
leaving out that the NFL damn sure wasn't gonna let a black dude own one of these teams.
Over Lakers. The following year, the Chargers jumped on the freeway.
Shit was only $8,000. That wasn't that expensive, nigga. There was some niggas that accidentally had some money. I know there was. There was some niggas in 1960 that could have bought some teams. It was like, whoa.
Minnesota got its name from their
buying the team. Whoa.
They recommended the name because Vikings were aggressive people with a will to win, and it would honor the Nordic tradition in the northern Midwest.
They kept them owners nice and segregated.
Rams pass to Bob Delker gives the Vikings their first touchdown and official leg play.
You know, the Vikings are the first team to actually use a region as their franchise.
Even still now today, shit, they barely letting them minorities get a piece of them teams. Barely.
In 1962. But in 1963, the New York Titans changed their name to the Jets.
Let's go, Jets. The mighty green will beat them all.
They originally were going to name the team Dodgers, but got pushback from Major League Baseball. Gothams also got some consideration, but they balked when they realized it would get shortened to Goths. They almost got the name Boroughs, certainly an homage to the city's famous neighborhoods, but team officials worried opposing fans would translate it their own way and start calling them the Jackasses.
The management of the New York Jets welcomes you to the...
Yeah, all that makes sense.
Eventually,
all that makes sense.
Jets, since they planned to play their home games in Shea Stadium, which was close to LaGuardia Airport. In 1963, the Dallas Texans relocated.
That's why they named it the Jets?
And changed their
That's
name
a
to the
shitty
Chiefs.
reason.
Professional football.
That OG Chiefs logo was hard.
Exciting of all spectator sports came to Mid-America in 1963 when the Dallas Texans became...
Why were so many of the NFL teams based in like Native American names? Can somebody answer me that? Not even just the NFL, sports in general. It's like a backhanded compliment. It's like, yeah, we're naming the team after y'all, but I'm not sure about these graphics or these color schemes or any of this.
Owner Lamar Hunt didn't pick.
I'm trying to understand. I don't know. Something's wrong. I be trying to understand the psychology of everything.
He went with Chiefs because he said a large number of Native Americans lived in the area. Hunt may also have chosen it due to Kansas City's mayor, Roy Bartle. Bartle helped lure the team to Kansas City, and his nickname was, you guessed it, the Chief. Nothing changed in 64, nothing changed in 65. But in 1966, everything.
Who knows?
First,
I don't know which one of those sounds more valid to me. I can see them naming it after some white dude that helped get the team there.
Over 500 different names were offered up by fans, including the Atlanta Peaches, the Vibrants, Lancers, Confederates, Firebirds, and Thrashers. The winning entry was submitted by several people, but the winner of the contest was a school teacher whose entry described the Falcon as proud and dignified with great courage to fight. She noted it never drops its prey, is deadly, and has great sporting tradition.
I didn't know that.
I think it's wonderful. The Falcons won.
That's fire.
I was real satisfied.
Gosh, I think it was great.
I need to watch a Falcon video
That season.
on Netflix. That little animal shit. I need to see some Falcons in action.
Down in football history, the first play ever made by any new team anywhere. Joe Hauer from nearby Coral Gables High School and a Georgia Tech alumnus takes the opening kickoff and races 95 yards for a touchdown.
Over 600 fans suggested Dolphins.
The ownership group liked that the Dolphin was the smartest, fastest creature of the sea.
Being an expansion team, he needed a lot of things to perhaps draw people into it, and he would throw the footballs back out. So Flipper was cool.
But the biggest shift came at season end.
Yeah, I get that starting lineup here, get a program football lineup here.
When the NFL and AFL champions met to face one another in the first ever Super Bowl.
And this
The first ever Super Bowl.
Football League Championship.
The Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs handily, 35.
Yeah, so around 1960,
Football was on its way to taking over as the.
that's when they start getting steam. First, they had to get it on TV. And after it was on TV for like 5 years,
From the small town.
10 years, people start getting into it.
NFL added yet another new team.
Because if it's on TV, everybody's sitting at home with nothing to do. Especially in the 50s, there was probably nothing to
All
do.
Saints Day.
So, yeah.
However, the name came from yet another Name the Team contest. Owner John Meekum acknowledged he chose it as a nod to the popular song When the Saints Go Marching.
I would not want to be alive in the 50s. They didn't have shit cracking in the 50s. Isn't it so crazy how they're going to say that about us one day? It's going to be like 2200. And they're going to be like, damn, I would not have wanted to be alive in the 2000s. They did not have nothing busting in the 2000s. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. It ain't gonna take to the 2200s, nigga.
He chose the nickname over the fans' most
By
popular
2100.
2 years later, in 1970, the NFL.
They're gonna be calling us weak as hell. They're gonna be looking at us like we was the 1920s.
Players
And that's fucked up. Cause we ain't the 1920s. Come on.
And its club members. And so
is that Aaron Rodgers? What the hell?
Super Bowl IV probably was the best thing for the league moving into its merger because it really put both leagues on equal playing field.
The following year, the Patriots dropped Boston as its location identifier, swapping it for New England. Then from 1972 to 75, it was another quiet stretch for the league. But in 1976, the Seattle Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers joined the fold. A panel of sports writers, along with Tampa Bay owner Hugh Culverson, chose Buccaneers from an original list of more than 400 who raided Florida's coastline in the 17th century. Seattle, meantime, received more than 1,700 unique suggestions, including the Seattle Skippers, the Pioneers, the Lumberjacks, and the Seattle Seagulls. Seattle GM John Thompson said they went with Seahawks because it suggests aggressiveness, reflects our soaring Northwest heritage, and wasn't being used by any other major league teams. The NFL landscape then went unchanged until 1982, and that's when the Raiders moved south to Los Angeles. In 1984, the
everybody was choosing birds and animals.
4 years later, in 88, the Cardinals were on the move again, heading west to Arizona, initially going by the Phoenix Cardinals. In 1994,
I wonder what sports
they went
teams
statewide, changing their name to the Arizona Cardinals.
Obsession with
and in 1995,
animal names are.
The Rams took the Cardinals' place in St. Louis, and the Raiders went back to Oakland, leaving LA with no NFL teams. It was also time for expansion once again. The Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars.
Maybe because animals are universal.
The Jaguars play their first NFL game against the Houston.
So everybody knows what a Falcon is all over the world.
Fan contest.
Surprisingly, the initial concept
versus
for their logo
Steelers,
on their helmet,
you could be in India or some shit, Japan, and not know what they talk about.
However,
but if it was the Falcons, you'd be like, okay, I get
cease and desist letter
it. Maybe that's why.
The
that kind of makes sense.
Car company, and they decided to go with
them OG jerseys back in the day. Them shits was way harder.
For the expansion, Carolina Panthers.
Carolina ownership chose Panthers because they believed it symbolized what an NFL team should be: powerful, sleek, and strong.
For the Panthers, the wait is finally over as they make
black.
Home on their minds, Carolina.
They can't say that last one, but I can.
Would be considered a new franchise, with the Browns essentially suspending operations, keeping their colors, records, and history.
A record crowd expected in Baltimore as the NFL returns to this city for the first time since 1980.
And by now, Clark was born.
Mark Modell attempted and failed to buy the Colts nickname back from the franchise that left Baltimore for Indy in 1984. So once again, a name the team contest was held. Ravens beat out the Marauders and the Americans, and was a nod to Baltimore native Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem titled The Raven. 1997 saw the Houston Oilers pack up and move to Tennessee.
Yeah, Americans would have been asked. That's not a good name.
They changed it to Titans in 1999.
It's too.
Their naming contest produced options like the Tennessee Tornadoes, the Copperheads, the South Stars, and the Wranglers, among others. Owner Bud Adams chose Titans because it reflected strength, leadership, and other heroic qualities.
And aesthetically, it flows better with Tennessee.
Who picked up right where they left off after
versus
missing the previous
TW
2
or
seasons.
whatever those
Then
other
in
ones
2002, the Houston Texans were added, filling out the current 32-team league as we know it today.
Reliance Stadium, 69,000 fans who were crushed when
they ain't adding nobody since. They was adding teams every few years. 1990s, they said nope.
Owner Bob McNair chipped in.
We good.
The Texans logo
should have bought the team for $8K.
The 32 teams that has never been tinkered with. For the next 10 plus
years, there's some dudes alive
most that changes pretty minor.
Could have bought that team.
It wasn't until 202016 that
that's sitting here like, yeah, I had the money. I thought about buying the team and I didn't buy it. And there's also some think about all the niggas that pulled out. Oh my God, think about the niggas that pulled out. Oh my God. That's tragic. Like you spent the money, but didn't see it through. Oh my God, your whole family could have been billionaires.
A season late. And finally, in 2020, the Raiders vacate Oakland for a second time. This time heading east for the desert, setting up shop in Las Vegas. Expansion, contraction, mergers.
I ain't gonna lie, if I would have bought that team back then, I would have sold the hell out of it. Way before 2020.
In the century to come.
I ain't gonna lie, I probably would have sold it fast. I wonder how fast I would have sold it. But yeah, no, that was a banger. That was an absolute slammer. Absolute slam cammer, jammer, bammer, absolute slammer. Leave all your comments below. I learned a shit ton. I didn't know any of that. So I'm glad I watched that. Rest in peace, Rich Homie Quan, too, by the way. But yeah, if you can, go play my Caleb Williams special. Before it disappears, go lock in my picks. I'll be back with another video soon. I'm going to the game on Sunday, taking the fam. I can't wait. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. I can't do nothing without y'all. And get ready for a magical reawakening this season. I plan on doing more than I've ever done. And I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to do it. But get ready. Because I'm about to turn the fuck up. And y'all should too. I'm out. Peace. Gang gang.